Means statistically he should be more attractive than about 70% of participants. But
That
in
makes
reality,
sense.
our participants thought it was exactly the
Would you guys say attractiveness is all subjective? Because that's the thing. I don't think I think it goes hand in hand. I feel like part of it is objective, but I also feel like part of attractiveness is subjective, right? We asked 1,000 people to rate their attractiveness from 1 to 10.
How attractive do you think you are on a scale from 1 to 10? We have asked 1000 people this exact question. But there's a problem. Most people ask on
Guys,
camera.
I got that clean cut and everything. I feel like I'm a solid 8.5. No cap. Solid 8.
Will say,
I'm a 10. All of us are 10. 10. Damn! Wait a minute!
So we wanted to find a way to get real honest answers. That's why we created our anonymous
I
survey.
feel like in these, bro, like, I'm not gonna lie, the girls always saying they always a 10, bro. Like, it's never some like realistic shit. They always gonna be like, I'm a 10, I'm a 10. But just keep it real, bro. Not everybody. I don't think anybody's a 10, honestly, because I don't think anybody's perfect. I think 9 is the highest you get.
1000 people to rate their appearance as honestly as possible from 1 to 10. To get real results, we also reminded them to keep in mind that a 5 out of 10 is the average score and not bad at all.
Yeah.
We then collected each person's age and gender, so we could compare the different groups later. And finally, for reference, we also asked each participant to rate this person in the photo from 1 to 10, which will play
I'm not gonna lie, say you do this, guys, like, what do you do if you do this and like you get like a 2 or a 1? Like, are you gonna feel hurt? Like, how hurt are you gonna be if that shit happens to you?
Role later in the video. After collecting data for about 2 months, we finally hit the goal of 1000 participants. And the results was
this guy low-key looks like Clark Kent in like the cartoons.
so much different from all the public street interviews you always see. Out of exactly 589 men and 411 women, the most common answer, as you might have guessed, was 7 out of 10. Nearly 20% of all participants picked this.
I feel like everybody says that 7 out of 10 shit. I even just said it, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like that's like the safe rating everybody gives, right? Because they're like, oh, I'm a 7 out of 10. But I guarantee, like, if you give people a rating and say they cannot use 7, that's when it gets tricky, because now they realize they gotta be like more realistic.
This number. For many, it's probably the safe zone. Not arrogant, but above average. On the other hand, 98 people called themselves exactly average by rating themselves a 5 out of 10. And then there's the bottom of the scale. 45 people gave themselves the lowest possible.
What? Ooh. I'm not gonna lie, like, for you to rate yourself a 1, you either have to have so much humility, you're either you're trying to attention grab, or like you have extreme self-esteem issues. No way, a 1?
Score.
I gotta see the people who voted
Most
themselves
of them
a 1.
were men, by the way. More on that later. Now let's look at the opposite side. 71 people gave themselves a perfect 10. That means 7% of the 1000 participants believe they are basically the most attractive of them all. The rest of the scores are spread out in the middle range, resulting in an average score of 6.3 out of 10. In total, 678 participants gave themselves a 6 or higher. That means nearly 70% of people think they are better looking than average, which is mathematically impossible, but psychologically totally expected. A study from the University of Southampton, England, actually gave this behavior
I feel like that makes sense.
Enhancement effect. It's a tendency to overestimate your own qualities, especially regarding attractiveness. But theory aside, we wanted to test this directly. That's why every participant also had to rate the attractiveness of the reference person.
Yo, y'all fuck with this guy's earring? Like, bro has a lock and key for an earring. I do respect that it's unique, but at the same time, dog, like, I just feel like it's mad corny and goofy.
We included. As you can see, his ratings were all over the place. 18 people gave him a 1 out of 10, while 59 others.
Who the fuck gave him a 1 out of 10? I feel like he's like a 5, like he's straight average.
Gave him a 10.
Like,
on average, he received a 5.8 out of 10.
Just,
and if you paid attention, you might have noticed something. That's lower than the average self-rating of our participants. In fact, 654 participants out of 1000 rated themselves higher than they rated the reference person. That's 2 out of 3 people who think they are more attractive than him. To put this into perspective, we had the face of our reference person professionally analyzed. We will spare you the full report, but it's linked in the description. We concluded that the sample person rates somewhere between a 6.0 and a 6.1. That means statistically he should be more attractive than about 70% of participants. But in reality, our participants thought it was exactly the...
Would you guys say attractiveness is all subjective? Because that's the thing. I don't think I think it goes hand in hand. I feel like part of it is objective, but I also feel like part of attractiveness is subjective, right? Like I think we all can come together and be like, oh, like this person is extremely good looking or this person is extremely ugly. But I feel like once you get like closer in the ratings, there's like this gray area where I feel like at that point it's just up to subjectivity. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
Other way around, proving that the self-enhancement effect was very much present in our small experiment. But the ratings of the reference person also revealed something else that's really important. Looks are incredibly subjective. 18 people rated him a 1 out of 10, while 59 others gave him a 10, believing he's one of the most attractive people out there. You simply can't be everyone's type. And honestly, you're not supposed to be. No matter how you look, there will always be someone out there that sees you as a perfect 10 out of 10, even if 999 others don't. Okay, what's also really interesting is the differences between female and male participants. We had exactly 589 male participants with an average...
Before he even says the statistics, I feel like another thing I'm just going to hypothesize. I feel like men, when it comes to their own attractiveness, I feel like we're a lot more realistic than women, you know? Because I feel like, at least in like the 21st century, I just feel as with social media and things like that, it's like and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's good, like power to them, but like I feel like women, they tend to uplift each other a lot, so it's like even if this may not be the most attractive girl, like they're always like uplifting each other, like, oh, you're amazing, you're pretty, even if like the bitch built like a fridge. But I feel like with men, like we definitely feel that harsh reality of our attractiveness, so like I feel like you just kind of have to keep it real, or you're just gonna get really like heartbroken if you don't keep it real with yourself.
Score of 5.9 out of 10, and 411 female participants averaging a score of 6.9 out of 10. But here's where the results completely surprised us. Out of the male participants, only 28 rated themselves a perfect 10 out of 10. In contrast, 43 female participants also gave themselves a perfect score.
We knew that!
That means just 5% of men rated themselves at the very top, while over 10% of women did the same, meaning that they were more than twice as likely as men to rate themselves a perfect 10. Additionally, the total average score of the woman was also nearly 1 whole point higher. And we're not alone with this finding. A 2018 study titled "Almost Every Woman Thinks She's Hotter Than Average," yes, that's the actual title, found that 94% of women believe they are more attractive than the average woman. But why? The most common theory...
What did I just hypothesize? I told you guys, bro. Like,
explaining this phenomenon is called the social feedback loop. Women usually tend to get way more positive feedback and praise about their looks. This kind of overly positive feedback, combined with the self-enhancement effect, could explain the significant differences in 10 out of 10 ratings we saw in our experiment between male and female participants. But how about the lowest score? In total, 45 people rated themselves a 1 out of 10, which statistically speaking is also pretty unrealistic. But here's the really interesting part. Of those 45 people, 34 were men and only 11 were women. Even in relation, that means that men are twice as likely to rate themselves at the very bottom. But again, why? It might have a lot to do with body image pressure. The fitness industry, Instagram aesthetics, and the whole high-value male culture constantly push the idea that you need to be tall, shredded, rich, with a perfect face, or you don't measure up. And while women often tend to get more...
Not gonna lie, guys, as a man, I be feeling that shit. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Like, I think I'm fat. I know I'm not fat. Like, I be saying that shit, right? But I do feel like I could be, like, better. Like, no homo. But, like, look at me. Like, I'm not... Hold on. I'm definitely not I'm not the most fit dude, but I'm definitely not like unhealthy. But it's just like, look at me, right? I'm not gonna lie. Even for someone like me, as you can tell, like I work out a little bit. I'm a little bit shredded. I feel like I could look better though. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe it's body dysmorphia even for me because social media is unhealthy. But I'm not gonna lie. I see you know, I see all the fitness influencers, I see everybody on they shit. So it's like, damn, like I gotta do better. I gotta do better. So I think that social pressure is definitely there on both sides, of course.
External validation and compliments, men sadly tend to suffer in silence, which might explain why so many guys in our survey felt like they were at the bottom, even when that's statistically and visually not even close to the truth. Okay, you might remember that we also asked the participants to give us their age, just to see if there are any differences. But we didn't expect the results to be so drastically different. We divided the participants into 3 age groups,
age
15 to 20 years old, 21 to 30 years old, and 31 years and older. Can you guess which group had the highest average score? The lowest is the score of the youngest age group, being just 5.
That's what I thought. I thought we would have the lowest because, like, well, I'm not that young. I'm 25, guys, but I'm just saying I would expect like the younger people to have the lowest scores because we're the ones seeing social media every day, right? We're the ones like going through that, seeing all these perfect bodies, these perfect people, these beautiful people getting millions of likes, billions of likes every day.
5.2 out of 10. In the middle, we have the 21 to 30 year olds, averaging a 6.1 out of 10. And the 31 years and older scored the highest average at 7.3 out of 10. As you might have noticed, the older the participants were, the higher they rated themselves. But why is that? Younger generations have grown up in a world where every face is filtered and every body retouched. Everything is just a highlight reel from someone else's life, not reality. And over time, that destroys your self-image. The younger you are, the more you tend to compare your looks to others. But as people get older, looks usually play a smaller role in how we see ourselves. Confidence starts to come from other things, like caring for people you love. So that concludes the experiment we've been running over the past 3 months. If you appreciate the work and time we put into this, then please leave a like and subscribe. And if you want to understand how others actually perceive your face, check out our website link below. There you can get a professional facial analysis and a science-based transformation protocol.
Did you guys do this? Let me know in the chat below. Shit, I might do this. Just out of curiosity, I might do this. But I think a very interesting video. I feel like I kind of already knew some of the things, like I hypothesized it, because I feel like, you know, if you just look at any of the effects on social media on any of us today, it pretty much makes sense. I feel like it's pretty spot on. It makes a lot of sense that these things would be affecting like younger minds. That's why they say social media is like, it's definitely very impressionable on people if you let it get out of hand. It definitely has its good parts, but it definitely has its bad parts. But thank you everybody who came to the video. Brandon Stay Busy is out.